사랑의 9장 The Walk of Love in Recollecting one who is dead. If, in one way or another, a person is afraid of being able to maintain an overview of something that is multifarious and prolix, he tries to make or acquire a brief summary of the whole for the sake of a full view. For example, death is the briefest summary of life, a life tracked back to its briefest form. This is also why it has always been very important to those who truly think about human life to test again and again, with the help of the brief summary, what they have understood about life. No thinker grasps life as death does. This masterful thinker, who is able not to think through every illusion but is able to think it to pieces, think it to nothing. If then you are bewildered as you consider the multiple paths of life, then go out to the death, where all paths meet. Then a full view is each. If you are dizzy from continually looking at and hearing about life's dissimilarities, then go out to the dead. There you have mastery over the dissimilarities. Among the kin of clay there is no distinction, but only the close kinship. That all human beings are blood relatives, that is, of one blood, this kinship of life is so often disavowed in life, but that they are of one clay, this kinship of death, this cannot be disavowed. Yes, go out to the dead once again, in order there to take an aim at life. Indeed, this is the way the rifleman acts. He seeks a place where the enemy cannot hit him, but from which he can hit the enemy, and where he can have perfect quiet for taking aim. Do not choose an evening hour for your visit, because the quiet in the evening and in an evening spent among the dead is often not far from a sudden excitement that fatigues and satisfies. With restlessness raises new riddles instead of explaining the one once proposed. No, go out there early in the morning, where the sun is peeking through the branches with shifting lights and shadows, and the beauty and friendliness of the garden, when the chirping of the birds and the profusion of life out there almost make you forget that you are among the dead. Either seemed to you as if you had entered a foreign country that had remained unacquired with the confusion and fragmentation of life in the state of childhood, consisting only of small families. Out here is attained what is futilely sought in life, equal distribution. Each family has its own little piece of ground, approximately the same size. The view is just about the same for all of them. The sun shines equal of all of them. No building rises so high that it takes away the sun's rays, or the refreshing rain, or the fresh air of the wind, or the reverberations of bird songs from the neighbor or the neighbor across the way. No, here there is equal distribution. In life it certainly does happen sometimes that a family who has lived in prosperity and abundance must limit itself, but in death all families have had to limit themselves. There will be a slight difference, perhaps a foot, in the size of the plot, or one family may have a tree that another larger does not have on its plot. Why do you think there is this difference? By its smallness, it is a profoundly teasing reminder to you of how great the difference was. That is how loving death is. It is simply love on the part of death that, by means of this little difference, it calls to mind in an inspiring jest a great difference. Death does not say there is no difference. Whatever it says, there you can see what the difference was, half a foot. If this little difference does not exist, then death summary would not be completely reliable either. Thus, in death, life returns to childlike simplicity. In childhood, the big difference was also that one person had a tree, a flower, or stone, and this difference was an information what would manifest itself in life on a completely different scale. Now life is over, and among the dead, this little intimation of the difference remains as a recollection mitigated in a just of how it was. See, out here in the place to think about life, to get a full view with the aid of the brief summary that abbreviates the prolixity of all the complicated relationships. In writing about love, how then could I leave unused this occasion to make a test of what love really is? Truly, if you wanted to ascertain what love there is in you or in another person, then Pay attention to how he relates himself to one who is dead. If one wishes to observe a person, it is very important for the sake of the observation that one, in seeing him in a relationship, look at him alone. When one actual person relates himself to another actual person, the result is two. The relationship is constituted, and the observation of the one person alone is made difficult. In other words, the second person covers over something of the first person. Moreover, the second person can have so much influence that the first one appears different from what he is. Therefore, a double accounting is necessary here. The observation must keep a special account of the influence the second person has on the person who is the object under observation through his personality, his characteristics, his virtues, and his defects. If you could manage to see someone shadow boxing in that earnest, and if you could prevail upon a dance to dance solo, the dance he customarily dances with another, you would be able to observe his emotions better than if he were boxing with another actual person, or if he were dancing with another actual person, and if in conversation with someone you understand the art of making yourself known, you get to know best what resides in this person. But when a person relates himself to one who is dead, there is only one in this relationship, as much as one who is dead is no actuality. No one can make himself known as well as one who is dead. Because he is no one, thus there can be no mention here of any irregularities in the observing. Here, the one who is living in disclosed here, he must show himself exactly as he is, because one who is dead, he is indeed a cunning fellow, has withdrawn himself completely, and he has nothing the slightest influence, neither disturbing nor accommodating. Only one living who relates himself to him. One who is dead is no actual object. He is only the occasion that continually discloses what resides in the one living who relates himself to him, or that helps to make manifest the nature of the one living who does not relate himself to him. We certainly do not have duties also to the dead. If we are to love the persons we see, then also those who have sinned but sin no more, because death took them away. We ought not disturb the dead by wailing and crying. We ought to treat one who is dead as we treat one who is sleeping, whom we do not have the heart to awaken, because we hope that he will wake up by himself. Weep very softly over one who is dead, for he has attained rest, says Sirach. And chapter 22, verse 11. I know of no better way to describe true recollection than by the soft weeping that does not burst into sobs at one moment and soon subsides. No, we are to recollect the dead. Weep softly, but weep long. How long cannot be determined in advance, because no one recollecting can know for sure how long he will be separated from the one dead. But the one who lovingly recollects one who is dead can use some words from David's psalm, in which there also is mention of a recollection. If I forget you, then forget my right hand, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I do not remember you, if I do not set you above my highest joy, may he only recollect that the task is not to say it immediately on the first day, but to remain true to himself and the dead one in this state of mind, even if one is silent about it, which may be preferable for the sake both of safety and of a certain decorum. It is a task, and one need not to have seen much in life to have seen enough to be assured that it may very well be necessary to emphasize that it is a task, a duty to recollect the dead. The untrustworthiness of human feelings left to their own devices perhaps never manifests itself more than in this very relationship. Yet this feeling, or its vehement expression, is not therefore untrue. That is, a person means what he says. He means it the moment he says it, but he satisfies himself and the passion of his undiscipled feeling by using expressions that bind in such a way that rare perhaps is the person who by his later expression does not render the first untrue, although it was true at the time. One often speaks of what completely different view of human life one would have if everything that life conceals were made manifest. Alas, if death were to come out with what it knows about the loving, what a terrible contribution to the knowledge of human nature, a contribution that does not in the least promote love of humanity. Therefore, among the works of love, let us not forget this one. Let us not forget to consider the work of love in recollecting one who is dead. The work of love in recollecting one who is dead is a work of the most unselfish love. When wants to make sure that love is completely unselfish, one can of course remove every possibility of repayment. But this is exactly what is removed in the relationship. The one is that if love still abides, then it is truly unselfish. Repayment in connection with love can be quite varied. For that matter, one can have direct profit and gain. And this is indeed always the common way, this pagan way, loving those who can make repayment. In this sense, repayment is the heterogeneous, is something different from the love itself. But there is also a repayment for love that is homogeneous with the love, reciprocal love, and presumably there is still so much good in the majority of people that, as a rule, they will regard this repayment of gratitude, of appreciation, of devotion, in short, the repayment of reciprocal love, as the most significant, although in another sense they perhaps will not admit that it is a repayment, and therefore are of the opinion that one cannot call love selfish in so much as it aspires to this repayment. But in no sense does the one who is dead make repayment. In this regard, there is a similarity between lovingly recollecting one who is dead and parents' love for their children. Parents love the children almost before they come into existence and long before they become conscious beings, therefore as non-beings. But a dead person is also a non-being, and the two greatest good works are these: to give a human being life and to recollect one who is dead. Yet the first work of love has a repayment. If parents had no hope, whatever, no prospect at all of ever receiving joy from their children and reward for their love, well, there would indeed still be many a father and mother who still would lovingly do everything for the children. But there certainly would also be many a father and mother whose love would grow cold. By this, it is not our intention to declare outright that such a father and mother are unloving. No, but the love in them would still be so weak, or self-love so strong, that this joyous hope, this encouraging prospect would be needed if, and with this prospect, everything is all right. The parents could say to one another, "It is true that our little child has many years ahead of him, but during all that time, we will also have the joy of him. And above all, we have the hope that he someday will reward our love, will, if he does nothing else, will in repayment make our old age happy." 여기까지요. 349쪽입니다. 53% 진행했고요. 2024년 9월 28일 웍스 오브 러브가 1847년 9월 29일 날 출간됐는데 28일 날 지금 첫 번째 6장을 유튜브에 올렸고 지금 9장을 지금 막 길게 녹음했습니다.